Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to this information and question and answer session that we are holding for our new students expected to join us in August or September for our 2025-2026 academic year. My name is Pat Atherley. I am the Senior Assistant Registrar in our Student Enrollment and Retention Unit, known as the SERU, S-E-R-U. Some of you may have been communicating with us, or we've been communicating with you already on various issues on your road to enrollment. And it is really a pleasure to have this opportunity to engage with you this afternoon. I have a number of persons with me on this panel. I have Mr. Owen Ellis. He is our Senior Assistant Registrar in the School for Graduate Studies and Research, and he deals primarily with our postgraduate and research students, in addition to administrative matters around graduate studies and research. I have Mrs. Carol Jordan. She is our Assistant Registrar in the Student Affairs Admissions Unit. And there's Mrs. Rosemary Bell, who is my colleague in the Student Enrollment and Retention Unit. She is our recruitment coordinator. Last week at this time, we were hosting this session for our regional and international students who are joining us. And this evening, we have our local, our Barbadian students, because we know that, your questions, your issues may be a little different. So we decided we'll have separate sections. So I just want to bring you greetings from the leaders of our campus principal, Professor Clive Landis, our deputy principal, Professor Winston Moore, and our campus registrar, Mr. Rommel Carter. So without much further ado, our assistant registrars and Mrs. Bell, our recruitment coordinator, they have some important information to share with you. But this is also really an opportunity for, for you to ask any questions, because we decided to have these sessions because we have been receiving, quite a number of questions coming in from students, new students, asking about various things. And we decided that we would have these sessions, to clarify some things up front and also to allow you to ask any additional questions that you may have. Now, we don't have all evening. So when we get to the time where we're going to be wrapping up this session, if there are additional questions, you just make sure that you put those in the chat, and we will provide answers to all persons who are registered. We would put together those answers and send them out to you, persons who are registered for the session. Okay, so at this point, I am going to invite Mrs. Jordan, our Assistant Registrar for Student Affairs Admissions. And Mrs. Jordan deals with the undergraduate students, but also with the taught master's students, persons in taught programs at the master's level. And she has her important information she will share with you. So Mrs. Jordan.
And as Mrs. Atherley said, I am representing the Student Affairs Admissions Office. So congratulations to each and every one of you on your acceptance to the UWI. Now, this presentation covers critical requirements, various timelines, financial obligations, support systems specific to you, our Barbadian students. Now, we understand that as local students, your needs are going to be a little different to those of our overseas applicants. So today's information is tailored specifically for you. So over the next 12 minutes or so, we'll cover everything you need to know to ensure a smooth transition to university life, from document submission through to financial obligations. And as I said, and the support systems available to help you succeed. Now, let me start with something absolutely critical for all students. Your application process is not complete until we receive your original acceptance documents. I cannot stress this enough. We need the original documents, not photocopies or digital submission. So some of you may have sent, in response to the offer, you may have sent your information via responded via email. but you must bring us those original documents. And as local students, you have the advantage of in-person delivery directly to the Student Affairs Admissions Office. And if you can't bring them on your own, feel free to send someone with them, and we will accept them from the person. That is okay. So remember to bring your original acceptance documents to us personally, and as only original documents will be accepted. Make this a priority to ensure that your registration can proceed as smoothly as possible. Now, registration week begins Sunday, August the 24th for our new students. So let me just walk you through, a little roadmap of what is expected of you. There is new student orientation, and attending orientation is highly recommended, which will be the week of August the 17th. So this is the week prior to registration. And, to participate in all the orientation activities, yes, you may have some that are online, but certainly we do have some face-to-face orientation activities that we will expect you to be a part of. This kind of helps you to settle in and connect with other fellow students and so on at that point. Before you register, you will be expected to pay your UWI registration fees. This is before registering for your courses, and your UWI registration fee is a little different for if some of you would have received a tuition fee as well. The UWI registration fee consists of your guild fee, your amenities, your ID card. If you're in the Faculty of Science and Technology, some programs are expected to pay a technology fee, and you are also expected to pay a Pelican fee, a Pelican perk fee. Now, you will receive correspondence about the Pelican perk fee, which is $20 per year for the next 3 years. You're then expected to register for your courses, which is done on an assigned, I forgot, attending academic advising. Oh my, I should have highlighted this part. This part is indeed mandatory, and you cannot register for your courses without, and I cannot stress this enough, completing academic advising first. Now, we do understand that sometimes we may have a relative, a sister, a brother, a god niece that would have been here at the university, but each year things may change a little differently. And so it is important that you understand you must do academic advising before attempting to register. And registering then is on a particular assigned day. Not any day you choose, but we will assign a specific day that you will be expected to register. And once you've registered, remember you pay your UWI fees before attempting to register. But after you've registered, you will be expected to pay any outstanding fees. So for example, if you have tuition fees outstanding, you will be expected to pay these or make some sort of arrangement before the registration deadline. Now, registration schedules will be available on our website. The dean's address with time, location, mandatory academic advising for all students, postgraduate coordinator meetings for graduate students, and our registration buddy system, where students, help newcomers in getting registered for their courses after they had academic advising, because they do not provide they don't provide academic advising. They're just there to help you, if you're having any issues trying to navigate the system and getting registered. Now, this information will also be sent to you via email. So it is important that you check your email regularly, especially now as we come closer to registration, as you will receive information from the admissions office, you will receive information from the SERU office, and you will receive information from the Office of Student Services. So even if you are in an online program, and this would be for our master's programs, some of our master's programs, you must complete the academic advising and follow the same registration process as well. Now, at the end of registration week, you will be expected to attend our matriculation ceremony. Now, this is a formal induction as a UWI student, marking your official entry into the university life. Begin your UWI journey with purpose and pride and celebration, because every great academic adventure deserves a memorable start. This is what we call KPhil Online, affectionately known as CHOL or CHOL. And this is your student portal. This platform will be the central to your entire university experience. Now, notice for this, you have we will be posting different notices about registration, as you can see here, examinations, and general announcements. So this is how we would communicate important updates to you throughout your academic journey. Now, as new students, remember I spoke about getting correspondence from the SERU department as well. There is a new student website where the information will also be housed so that you will get these notices as well. But as you go through CHOL, they will also be here. Well, the new student information, SERU will speak a little bit more about that when they do their presentation, but you have more than one place then, is what I'm trying to say, where you will be able to know what, get your notices and so on. There will be no excuse as to why I didn't know when the examinations would be, different information about registration. So for example, if, we are working with the system, and the system is in fact man-made. So suppose now there is an issue where you go to register and you're having issues and so on, but we recognize that there is in fact a problem with the system. We will place the registration notice here on CHOL, where you're going in to log in to actually do your registration. The information will also filter down to the SERU department, and it will also be available on the new student website for your attention as well. As you go even further into your KPhil Online or your CHOL, this provides you access to everything you need. You have your academic records, important official, well, if we spoke about the notices already, this is where you go to do your registration. You take a look at your class schedule, your course catalogs. If there was a need for you to request an override, you do it here. So this is where you would go to do all of the stuff as it relates to you as a student, in addition to getting any help that you would need. Now, all students must complete the English language proficiency test where applicable. And that's very important that you understand that we say where applicable, because if you have if you're being exempted from doing the English language proficiency test, based on these exemptions that you see here, you will not be required to take the test. You will not be required to take the test. If you don't have these qualifications and you have not taken the test, when it was administered in April, as you're only allowed to take the test once, then you can take the test on August the 7th. So mark this date on your calendar if you need to take the test. The information on the test is available online, and we will place the link in the chat for you for ease of access. You would have also received information in your various correspondence you would have received from us when you first applied and so on, which provides you with the information as it relates to the test, to this test as well. So that information will be placed in the chat for ease of reference, or I should say the notice will be placed in the chat for ease of reference. As it relates to the math proficiency test, it is required for persons in the Faculty of Social Sciences and Sport only. Once again, we speak about where applicable. If you have any of these, if you will be exempted from any of these, then you will not be required to take the test. Quite similar to the English proficiency test, there was a test in April. We now have 2 dates. The English proficiency test, I must add, is an online administered test. The math proficiency test, however, will be held on campus, and there are 2 dates. And within those 2 dates, there are various times in which you can take the test. The cost of both tests is $50 Barbados dollars. If you're not successful with the test, you will not be able to take the test again. What this would mean then is that you would take our preliminary English course or our preliminary math course or both. And this is a registered course which runs throughout the semester, which carries a cost of 500 Barbados dollars, which is different, which is not included in your UWI fees. This is an additional fee that you would have to pay. Now, we do have some persons that opt not to take the test and just do the preliminary course. Now, after you've done the test and you're successful, what this does would be to allow you to go on to do our level 1 math test or our level 1 fundamentals of English courses. Now, if you have to take the prelim course, once you're successful, it takes you then to, you're eligible then to do your level 1 course as well. Now, I must note that this test, as you can see, or because most of you would have already been accepted, if not all of you, is not an entrance test, but rather we are testing your proficiency in both your English and your math. The government of Barbados, they sponsor most Barbadian nationals for programs. And when I say most Barbadian nationals for programs, this would be what we call our UGC funded program. So if it is a self-financed program, the government of Barbados will not sponsor that particular program. So for full-time students, the government pays the full program costs, not your UWI fees. They pay your economic costs and your tuition fees. So you would not have seen that indicated in your letter, but the government, they pay those fees for you. And you are expected to complete within a 3-year time span. Now, a 4th year will also be funded if required. For part-time students, you're expected to complete within 4 years, but a 5th year will also be funded if required. Now, there are special cases. For those doing the preliminary year, those accepted into the Faculty of Science and Technology, you do get funding for your preliminary year. So you get the 3 years, you get the preliminary year, the regular 3 or 4 years for the preliminary part of it. For general medicine, which is the MBBS program, you receive full funding for the entire 5-year program for those who have been selected by the government for sponsorship. And you will know if you have been selected in September. We will indicate that to you in September. And this is after the Barbadian scholarships have been awarded. For the health sciences program, you receive funding for the 3-year full-time or the 7-year part-time. The human and nutrition, they receive funding for those selected as well, because this program is in fact a self-finance program. One other program I forgot to mention would have been our software engineering program, and the government does sponsor that program as well. Now, in the case of medicine, for those who are being sponsored, if it is that as you go along and you fail a course, you attempted a course and you were not successful with the course, you get one opportunity to repeat that course. If you're not successful after that time, then you have to do it for a 3rd time. The government will not cover the cost of the repeat courses. So, but that will not happen to you guys. But, I still thought it very necessary to indicate it here, because we have to understand that, the government will only sponsor you for a certain time as well. when it comes to those who are doing the MBBS program. If you are returning to the UWI after completing your program or after previously withdrawing from the program, this information is especially critical for you. Your previous study time counts towards your sponsorship duration. What do I mean by that? Now, if you previously completed 2 years or you did 2 years worth of courses, you were eligible for 1 more year. Remember, we spoke about persons being full-time before, the government sponsoring them for 3 years and then giving them an additional year. You were eligible then for 1 more year, and then the other extra year, where applicable or if needed. If it is that you have to start from scratch at some point during your studies with us, your return to the campus, it will mean then that you will be responsible for paying for your fees. So your study time does not reset. So you don't start from 3 years or start from 4 years where you get the additional year. It goes back to wherever you ended, because as you can appreciate, the government would have sponsored you when you were first here. So those who would be required to pay their fees, students in self-finance programs not covered by government sponsorship, students who have exceeded their government-sponsored time frame, re-entry students who have already used their allocated government-sponsored years. So this is, we spoke about it a little bit just now. So if you are a re-entry student, and let's say you have 4, 3, even 1 course to finish, and you wanted to come back to do that course, and you would have already used up all of your time, then the government will not sponsor you. You will be expected to cover the cost for those courses that you have left. And students pursuing programs outside of the standard sponsorship policy. Now, there are various payment options. You have online payments through CHOL, bank transfers, and cashier payments. Now, even though this is the Barbadian or local group that I'm speaking with, I still thought it necessary to indicate to you that effective August 1st, we will no longer be accepting US dollar denominated checks or bank drafts. So if it is that you have a relative overseas, that want to, give you a little sponsorship, we will not be accepting any US checks. So, you will have to tell your auntie, well, they can send me cash, and you will they can do wire transfers if that is something that they would prefer to do on your behalf. For our postgraduate students, government sponsorship has specific criteria. So for those doing UGC-funded programs or graduates with upper second or first class, the government of Barbados will sponsor your postgraduate studies. Those who must pay fees would be those students who would have received lower second class honors, or students who, we sometimes have other students who may not be non-degree students. They too will be expected, even though it is a UGC funded program, to pay their fees. As well as, we may have some students pursuing a second postgraduate degree, and you will be expected, because the government is going to sponsor, even though sometimes you may have a person who would have done a UGC funded program already. They have their first class honors, they did the UGC funded program already, they want to come and do another one. The government of Barbados will only sponsor one, so you will be expected to pay your fee, and the fee arrangement is the same whether you're postgrad or undergrad. Once again, for our postgraduate students, there are special opportunities under the areas of national significance. The government of Barbados, they provide sponsorship for some of our postgraduate programs, regardless of your undergraduate performance. And there are strategic areas important to national development. The areas will be placed in the chat so you know which programs qualify. And do know that you will not be required to do anything as long as we know that, we know which programs are areas of national significance, and we will assign this special sponsorship to your record. So there is nothing that you would need to do. Now, there are two key academic resources. We have our student handbooks, which will be available online in probably the second week in August. And you use the handbook for your entry year, as academic policies and procedures may change between years. So if we have a student returning with us, you will be getting your academic advising just like everyone else, but certainly you will be using the handbook in the year in which you came once it is not, let's say, beyond 5 years. But if it is beyond 5 years, your academic advisor, as she speaks to you, will let you know exactly which book you must refer to, as things change each year. For our technology requirements, you'll receive correspondence about the student portal access, email account setup, learning management system access, and any required software or technology for your specific program. Remember earlier I spoke about us sending you emails, and we want you to keep checking your email. Now, it is important to note that once you become a student, we will no longer be sending emails to you via your personal email. So as long as you set up your UWI email account, you will be expected to check that account, because anything we have for you, whether it is the admissions office, SERU department, whether it is the dean, the faculty, your lecturers, they will not be sending anything to you via your personal email. Everything will be done via your email account. So similar to how you will be checking your CHOL quite often, if you can download your email on your phone, you do that so that you can always be abreast with everything that is happening, because we will bounce you emails to that email address if there is an emergency, not an emergency, but if there is something that, when I say emergency, remember, if something goes wrong with the technology that would prohibit you from registering or something, we would need to send you a blast via your email. If you understand what I'm saying to you. So therefore, we want you to have it there that you can know when you're getting your notifications and so on, and be able to be kept abreast of everything that is happening at any given point in time. So critical deadlines. August the 17th, that's new orientation week. During the week of August the 17th, that's your new orientation, new student orientation. You have online activities, you have face-to-face activities, and we expect that you would come out and, be a part of the orientation activities that we have planned for you. Registration week commences on this Sunday, August the 24th, with a church service. And you are expected to register on the stipulated day for your faculty. Complete the ELPT or the MPT for those who have to, where applicable, once again, that word. Complete your academic advising, pay your registration fees, register on your assigned day, and pay your tuition fee by the registration deadline. We do not want a case where you don't pay your fee and then you are blocked from your services. If it is that you do not pay, or you want to get what we will call a payment plan, and we will put that link in the chat for you as well. That leads you to, if it comes down to that and you have to get a payment plan, ensure that you do that before the end of registration. Now, with a payment plan, you will be required to register for your courses first, because once you register for your courses, it then tells us, it creates a billing of what your courses would be, the cost of what your courses would be. And then you would be able to enroll in the payment plan, and you would know how much you would pay per month for your payment plan. So if it is that if it is that you're getting sponsorship and it hasn't come through as yet, we encourage you to do a payment plan. The cost of the payment plan is an additional $50, which is an administrative fee, but it helps you then not to be blocked from any of your services. As you know, well, you may not know, or you may know, you will be doing a lot of things online, what we call the online e-learning. And, your lecturers will be putting their lectures on the e-learning and so on. So we would not want you to not be able to access these. So if it is that you are awaiting sponsorship, awaiting anything at all, you go ahead and you do that payment plan once you see the registration deadline approaching, which that usually is if your teaching will start on Monday, September the 1st. So your deadline will be the Friday during that same week. Now, don't forget about, we do have financial assistance opportunities. There are various scholarships and so on that we have for Barbadian nationals. You would have to take a look to see what the various scholarships are. Now, the deadline for the scholarships or the bursaries was the 30th of June. So if you're not, the deadline has gone, so you would not be able now to apply. But certainly you can take a look at what the scholarships and the bursaries and so on that we have going forward, so that if there is a need for you to apply for a scholarship or bursary, come in, you do it before the deadline, which is always June the 30th. So we will also place that link in the chat for you as well. So before we conclude, here is how you can reach us in the admissions office. And once again, if there is a query as it relates to the payment plan or anything related to payment, you can reach out to our student accounts department. We are here to support you throughout this process, so don't hesitate to contact us if you have any questions or need assistance. So, official welcome to the University of the West Indies. We always look forward to welcoming persons to our family of excellence, and certainly supporting you through your academic journey and seeing you succeed right here at our K-Phil campus. After our other presentations, if there are any questions, you can feel free to ask them at that time. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Mrs. Jordan, for that fulsome presentation. A lot of very important information that you need to know on the road to enrollment and registration. My next person to speak with you is Mr. Owen Ellis, and as I indicated, he's the Senior Assistant Registrar in the School for Graduate Studies and Research, and he, in terms of the admissions process, he is primarily responsible for the students pursuing research programs. So Mr. Ellis will say a few words to you at this point. Mr. Ellis?
Thank you, Mrs. Atherley, and thank you, Mrs. Jordan, for the presentation, which all of it does apply, most of it does apply to our research students as well. I've left my background photo up so that you graduate students can know that where Mrs. Jordan would have shown you the main admin building where undergrad would gravitate to for admin services. I'm showing our postgrad building, and that's where the research students in particular would gravitate to for admin services. And this is also the building where some of the graduate programs are taught. Not all of you who are graduate students will come to this building, but for those persons in School of Business, sometimes management, education, and social sciences would find yourselves having classes in this building. All right. So one or two other things I wanted to stress for you, research students, that is. And the one thing, one of the things I wanted to say in relation to your graduate payment for your graduate programs, Mrs. Jordan did indicate that the government only sponsors one graduate program. So I'm stressing this because up to today I got a query related to this, and the person had already been sponsored for one program and wondered why you were quoting the cost for the second program. So it was made clear that, government will only sponsor one, and if you want to do a second one, you have to cover the cost yourself. So I stress that point to know anyone here who falls in that category, please note government only sponsors one postgraduate program. And the final thing I want to say, because as I said, Mrs. Jordan was covered all the points already. For research students, just as the undergrads and the top master students need to go through faculty advising before they register, research students have to do the same, because one important point is that you are assigned a supervisor from the very beginning, and your first action as you come into the campus in September is that research students, you need to connect with your supervisor and get advising on which courses, if any, you have to do, and basically sit down and plan and plot your route through the postgrad research program, because you do have, as you heard from Mrs. Jordan, you too have a set time to complete your program. It might be 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, but when you think about it, that's a very short time. So what we advise our research students to do is, as you come into the program, sit with your research supervisor and plan your program through, because you may have to do coursework. So therefore you have exams, and you try to do those exams within the first 2 years. You will have to do seminar presentations, and again, you plan to do those within years 2, years 3, years 4, and then you have to write a thesis and submit it within either 3 years, in some cases you're full-time in an MPhil program, 5 years if you're full-time in a PhD program, and 7 years if you're part-time in a PhD program. I'm stressing those because, again, as Mrs. Jordan said, once your time has run out, then anything over and above the years allocated to you become fee-paying years. So you will find yourself in a situation where, having done your time in the program as agreed from the beginning, any additional time, if you do not submit on time, you find yourself in a situation where you have to pay for additional years. And just for information, and this is something that all students sometimes, most students sometimes do not get a feel for, and that is the cost of your program. So I'm going to put it out there for all undergraduate and postgraduate students doing what we call the UGC funded programs. The cost of your program, full-time program, is $37,000 Barbados dollars per year. For undergrads, 3 years by $37,000. For postgrad, again, if your program is a 2-year UGC program, that's $37,000 by 2. If you're a PhD student, that's $37,000 by maybe 5 years. So just to put it out there, that is what government is paying, and therefore we encourage you to stay within your set time and finish your program on time. Otherwise, you will find yourself facing a fee as high as $37,000 Barbados dollars per year. I'm not saying that scare anyone. I'm just saying that if you multiply that 37,000 by we have 120 persons, 124 persons here, you will get an idea for what government, and this is only for you, but we have to look at the other years of students in the system. This shows how much government is really paying to train Barbadians here. So don't take it as a very a light thing, because it is a serious investment. So we try to encourage all our students to make it through the program within the set time as assigned by the program. So I think I've maybe scared you enough, so I must stop. And because we do have a couple other presentations, and then we have all your questions which you have, which we want to answer as well. So thanks again, Mrs. Athley. I hand back over to you so that the others can have a chance to say a few words.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ellis. And of course, that 37,000 relates to most of our faculties. It could even be a bit higher than that in some faculties, because if you're talking about the Faculty of Law, then that's $54,000 for every year the Barbados government pays for you. And for medicine, it is even more than that. 65,000 for those first 3 years, and then almost 100,000 for those clinical years. So as Mr. Ellis said, it really is an investment, but you need not be scared. Those persons who do run into the situation where you have to fund some portion of that cost yourselves. And we want to remind you that the Student Revolving Loan Fund is there for you too. And many students seem to think that the Student Revolving Loan Fund only lends if you're going overseas to study, and that's not true. Students can borrow funds to study here at the Cayfield campus as well. And even if you're not paying, you don't have to pay your tuition fees. You know, you have maintenance, you have books, you might need a computer, you have your university registration fees to pay, and all of these can add up to a fairly significant sum as well. So you may want to have that conversation with the Student Revolving Loan Fund about getting some access to funding for your studies. So at this point, the last person who's going to speak to you before we get to any questions you may have is Mrs. Rosemary Bell. And as I said, Mrs. Bell is from the Student Enrollment and Retention Unit here on the Cayfield campus, and she will say a few words to you about the SERU. Mrs. Bell.
Good afternoon. I am going to turn off my video while I do the presentation. Good afternoon. A warm welcome from the Student Enrollment and Retention Unit. As you would have heard before, my name is Rosemary Bell, and I am the Student Enrollment and Recruitment Officer in the Office of SERU. This is our team, and I am certain that at some point that you will meet and visit our office and interact with our team. Our department is also referred to as the SERU, S-E-R-U. Within the department, we concentrate on recruitment, customer service, engagement, and student mobilities. And I want to take a closer look just at two of these elements, which would be customer service and student mobilities. As the customer service arm of the UWI, we aim to ensure that all students are provided with the information they need. Additionally, we also seek to ensure that students receive timely answers to routine inquiries and concerns. So we consider ourselves the one-stop shop for administrative matters. Student mobilities. While interacting with some of you, you would have indicated that you're interested in studying abroad. So I am reminding you that there is the opportunity to spend either a semester or a year abroad, and that is after you have completed your first year. So from your second year, you are welcome to go on study abroad. So the UWI, we offer the best of both worlds with partner institutions all over the world. To give you additional information, we will normally have a study abroad fair that is hosted by our department. So you can look out for an invitation to that fair, or you can contact our office for more information. And students really look forward to traveling and coming back and sharing their stories with us. Let's take a closer look at our administrative services. Student status letters. This is a frequent request from students. Status letters are needed for insurance purposes. Sometimes you want to apply for a visa, or you might just need it as a reference. So we have had requests already, but what we ask you to do, after you have registered, after registration, you can go online and you can request the letter online. The form is online. And then we would send back your letter via your Cave Hill email, because you would have already heard that you're going to get a Cave Hill email. We will send back the letter via the Cave Hill email. Student identification cards. All student identification cards are issued from the Student Enrollment and Retention Office. So if you have already returned your completed acceptance documents, I want you to listen carefully. This is inclusive of the ID card form and photos, and you have paid your fees, you are free to collect your student ID card from the week of August 4th. Or you can collect your ID card during the live orientation session. So it's up to you, but if you want to collect them from now, you're free to do so once you have submitted the documents during that week of August 4th. SERU is also the collection point for transcripts, because at some time you might need your academic transcript. And as stated before, we offer students information and guidance. You're welcome to join us here if you have any queries or concerns. So we would have also mentioned the new student website. And I really hope by now that you would have gone online and you would have been browsing and looking to see what we have to offer. You would have looked around the website, because there you will find information of that information that Mrs. Jordan would have spoken about before. Information on orientation, registration, first year, if you need to pair it with a buddy, all of that information is housed within the new students website. We would have spoken to our regional and international students already, but I know just in case someone popped in, or if you have a friend or that is coming from overseas, you can let them know that we have a pre-arrival guide there that they can also browse. We have a pre-arrival guide for undergraduate as well as postgraduate students housed within that website. Also, airport meet and greet. There is a airport meet and greet form. Students coming in, we also meet you at the airport. So you're free as well to sign up for the airport meet and greet if you're coming from overseas. This is for our overseas students, but we just thought that we will let you know just in case. So news and announcements. You're encouraged to click on our news and announcements page to keep abreast of what is happening. We always have something happening on campus. So you have some place where you can go. You know, sometimes you would hear from a friend, but sometimes it's always good to get the information firsthand. So the information is there for you to access. And I know that students love social media. We love social media. So we invite you to like and follow us on Instagram and Facebook. And this is the information where you can follow us at UE Cave Hill campus, at SERU Cave Hill. So that is my presentation. And I want to say, I know that I would have interacted with a lot of you. And I am glad that you have decided to join us. I am looking forward to welcoming you. I know we will have to meet, because you need to come into the office to say hello. Don't be a stranger. I want you to say, hi, Mrs. Bell. You would have spoken to me and I am here so that I can be glad and I can welcome you. So welcome.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Bell. And just to stress that that news and announcement feature that Mrs. Bell mentioned, that's also on the new student website. All right, that's a feature on the new student website. So you should check that, check that often to see what new news and announcements we place there on the road to enrollment and registration. All right, and at this point, and I also just want to emphasize what Mrs. Bell spoke about in terms of student mobilities, those opportunities. As was noted there, we have partnerships with universities in Asia, in Africa, North America, Europe. So all of you should be thinking by all like now in taking advantage of those opportunities. From your second year, once you get your GPA and keep a GPA of 3. So that's a good incentive for getting your GPA up to be able to go on exchange. But we'll hear a lot more about that, as Mrs. Bell indicated, when the SERU and International Office host the study abroad fair for you. So, okay, so at this point, we are now at 6 o'clock, which was supposed to be the end of our session, but we know that you may have some questions, so we will, we will give some extra time to deal with any questions that you may have. You have two options. You can put your questions in the chat, or you can let us hear your voice by opening your microphone and speaking to us. In that case, if you want to open your microphone, do put your hand up. Do use the hand up feature so that we can have a little bit of control in terms of calling on persons who want to speak, or you can put it in the chat. So I see a question already. What are the give back hour requirements for postgraduates? Mr. Ellis, do you want to speak to that?
Okay, thanks, Ms. Zachary. The give back hours are similar to undergrad. However, it's always a challenge. I will say this. It's always a challenge to get give back hours done for postgrad students, primarily because postgrad students tend to be working, most of them. So here's the challenge: you're working already, and you still have give back hours. So it's a case where you really have to find a way to work it into a schedule outside of work. So that's where the challenge lies, and it's not easy. Some are able to do it, but others are not. But just as the undergrads would check in with the student services, then you postgrad students do the same, and to get some sort of arrangement for give back hours to be sorted out. For research students, if I could go on to that side, research students tend to be a little easier. So the first category was maybe taught masters, but the research students then, because they are researching, they tend to work with the supervisor, and then some of them are allowed to do give back hours within the faculty doing assisting with tutorials or teaching or what have you. So I find that the research students are easier to work with when it comes to give back hours, but the taught masters, because they're primarily working and don't have the opportunity to work with a supervisor or the faculty, then it's more difficult. But still checking with the Student Services Office and SERU office about give back hours. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ellis. I think you said that's like 150 hours for full-time students, 100 hours for full-time students, 150 hours for part-time. No, the other way around. 150 hours for full-time students, 100 hours for part-time students. But as we noted, it has been put in the chat, the link to the Give Back program details. So you're asked to just click on that and get all the information that you need on Give Back hours from there. But you do need to take seriously, giving your Give Back hours if you don't want to pay the government back their money. Someone is asking, we've joined a bit late, but wanted to ask when we will be able to see the courses that we can choose so we can plan ahead. I think that person is asking about the timetable. We expect the timetable to be available after July 31st. So from August 1st, we expect that the timetable will be available. Do we have UWI student accounts yet? If not, when can we be able to look to use CHOL, Mrs. Jordan?
I want to go back to the other question because we encourage planning ahead, but remember you have to have academic advising. So even though you want to take a look at the courses and so on that are being offered, you have to have the academic advising in order to determine which courses you're going to choose. So even though you maybe have, someone that, may be able to guide you through that process, that is fine. But we wouldn't want you then to go ahead and schedule your courses based on the plan ahead feature without speaking to your academic advisor. All right.
All right, and Mrs. Jordan has also answered in the chat that question on when can we look at CHOL. You will be sent that information and how to log into the network in due course. Student financing link. What steps do I have to take if I will be abroad during orientation and registration week?
For orientation week and you're abroad, well, obviously you would not be able to do the face-to-face orientation activities, but certainly you can still participate in the online orientation activities. Now, as it relates to registration, remember, I keep stressing and I cannot stress enough that you have to do academic advising. And what we do during that week, we have all of our, our lecturers and our academic advisors in one space on a particular day so they can provide all the guidance that is required for you during your registration. However, if it is a case where teaching starts the following Monday, which means you must be back by then. So if it is a case that you have to wait until then to do your registration, whatever you do, you must ensure that you go and you speak with your academic advisor. So it is not, we encourage persons to come out during registration week because, like I said, the academic advisors and so on will be on hand. So if you come then the Friday and we don't have any registration, if we don't have any registration set on that day, then you may not be able to speak to that particular academic advisor that is specific to the program that you want to do. But certainly there will be someone within the faculty that can provide guidance. But it is very important to note that we want you to do that academic advising before you attempt to register. For all our students who are returning, it is more than mandatory because you must be given a PIN in order to register. So for those returning, it is more than mandatory. But for the others, we really, really expect you to do so because we do not want you to choose courses that, we want you to be guided the correct way from the beginning.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Jordan. Now, this student wants to know if you want to change your courses after accepting your original offer. I guess they mean to change your program. After accepting your original offer, would it be possible to do so? And would you having a built-in preliminary year make a difference when it comes to changing courses?
Well, at this time, I cannot guarantee you that you will be able to change your program. However, let's say you applied for biochemistry and you're interested in doing biology and chemistry. If you were given a prelim year for the biochemistry, it would be the same for biology and chemistry. So it would be the same thing. It's only like if you wanted to come out now from doing science and technology altogether, and let's say you wanted to go in and do management and you meet the criteria as a full-time student, then that's the only time the built-in preliminary year would make a difference.
Yes, and remember in asking your question, sometimes put if you're undergrad or postgrad because the answer will differ sometimes depending on if you're an undergraduate or postgraduate student. Someone is asking, is the English and Math test for both undergrads and postgrads? No, it's for undergraduate students only. Save Mrs. Jordan answering that. How do you access academic advising? Again, this differs, but I suspect this is an undergrad student. Mrs. Jordan, do you want to take that?
Academic advising is done during the week of registration, and that's how you will do your academic advising. With the exception of persons returning to the KFL campus, they will get a specific instructions as to how the whole academic advising will work for them. But as long as you are a new student coming for the first time, you will do your academic advising during registration week, and we will provide you with correspondence indicating to you when you will have your academic advising and what, where you go and that kind of stuff. And everything is done here on campus, face to face.
All right, so there's a question on if what's the process in choosing an academic advisor? Your academic advisors are generally assigned and you will be able to see them on CHOL. But I want to, or the faculty will advise you in that regard, but I want to indicate that when we talk about speaking with an academic advisor before you register, for the undergraduate students, in fact, for all students, that's largely a group process for this first registration. Now, you'll be expected to build a relationship with your academic advisor going forward, and meet with them when you have questions about your academic program. Try to meet with them at least once or so per semester. But in terms of registration, as Mrs. Jordan said, you're going to go to a particular place as assigned for your faculty. You're going to hear from your dean and any other persons that the faculty has scheduled to speak to you, and then you will have your advising sessions as part of that process. So at that point, it is not like you a one-on-one person with you and your assigned academic advisor. All right. So it is part of what is planned for that advising and process before registration. If I have first class honors and accepted to business analytics program, we're required to pay. The business analytics program is one of those programs that the Barbados government funds, right? So whether you have first class honors or upper second class honors, if you do get into the program as a Barbadian student, you would be funded. Is the calendar for first semester out as yet? If not, do you know when the semester will end? Mrs. Jordan, do you want to speak to that?
The dates are still, we still have proposed dates, but it will be the Friday before the week of
December 19th. December 19th is the date. December 19th is the date.
19th.
Yes, for the end of semester. That's when exams end and when the semester ends. It's December 19th. Can academic advising be done online for undergraduate students? Your academic advising is done face-to-face, as has been said all evening, as part of that process. For the postgrad students, that counseling program orientation and counseling for most of those programs is likely to be online, but you will get the details of that shortly. But for undergraduate students, the academic advising as done as part of the meeting of the faculty with its new students is a face-to-face process. What's the procedure for switching halls? I don't know if I can answer that. I would suggest that you send an email to the halls administration.
Right. Yes.
The halls administration, from which you would have received, your correspondence about your being admitted to hall. Send that question to halls administration.
And that would be based on if there is space in the other
if there is space
you are interested in going to.
Yes, and there's a cost difference as well to bear in mind. Can a student who has been offered a full-time position change to part-time? Get that question a lot. Undergraduate student. Thank you for stating that. Undergraduate student.
Yes, you can change to part-time. A full-time student can change to part-time because a full-time student, what that means is that you're fully qualified for the university. So you have the option then of doing a part-time load. A part-time student, though, cannot change to full-time unless they are what we would call fully qualified. So if you are given a part-time offer, and it's based on your lower level qualifications, which would be like your CXCs or your O levels, for example, then you must complete your first year, which is your level long courses, which consists of 2 years because it will be part-time, before opting to change to full-time. Now, a part-time student is one who takes 2 minimum, 3 maximum, whilst a full-time student is one who takes 4 minimum, 5 maximum, and in some programs you may have to take 6 courses.
All right. So for those undergrads, by and large, your part-time, full-time status depends on the number of courses that you are registered for. All right, but you're only offered a full-time position, a full-time status at first if you are fully qualified. Now, somebody's asking if it's cheaper to switch from part-time to full-time. I'm not quite sure what that question means, if it's cheaper to switch from part-time to full-time. If you're a Barbadian student, the Barbadian government is paying your fees. I don't know if that person, that would have been interesting to have that as a question, to know if that's a undergraduate or postgraduate student. So Tanaya, you might want to put that question again, because I'm not sure. Unless Mr. Ellis, you want to answer that question from the postgraduate perspective, because I suspect this may be a postgraduate student.
Thank you, exactly. Yes, it does matter because what we do for postgrad, the charges are per credit. So you might have a scenario, sorry, let me change that to slightly. For a lot of the postgrad programs, they are self-financing or government finances them, right? For especially those in suicide. So if you were to switch from full-time to part-time, you will pay a per credit fee, and it will be stretched over the program. All right, so let's use a scenario. If you're doing on self-finance courses, it's gonna cost $36,000 for the program, the entire thing. If you go from full-time to part-time, you will pay that 36,000 over a longer period. Yes, so instead of 1 or 2 years, you might want to do a part-time and go 3 years, so you're paying 36,000 over a 3-year period based on the number of credits you do in any 1 year.
Thank you, Mr. Ellis. What does the amenities fee cover? Well, your amenities fees, they cover a range of services that the university provides for you. This includes things like health services, including health insurance that all of our students have while they are students, if they have paid the amenities fees. Things like your gym, access to the student gym membership. The student shuttle service is covered under the amenities fees as well. We provide a shuttle service throughout the day that will take you without having to pay into Bridgetown and back, and there's set shuttle stops within the city. Students that live within a 3-mile radius of the campus on certain routes can use the shuttle as well to and from home. Sports facilities, those kinds of things are covered by the amenities fees. All right, and then you have your guild fee, which covers the services provided for students by the student guild. We heard Mrs. Jordan mention the Pelican Perks fee, that $20 a year for 3 years, $60 by the time you're finished, and that is towards your membership in the Alumni Association. And the benefits that come with that, including discounts from a range of service providers. So that that gives you a lifetime membership in the guild in the Alumni Association when you finally graduate. So that's what the Pelican Perks fee is about. Will the information in relation to academic advising and registration be sent via personal emails, Mrs. Jordan? Or you answered that?
Yes, please.
At this time, and I will just say aloud, so in case others have missed the chat, because that's information for everybody, should be important, and it's important for everyone. At this time, the information will be sent to your personal emails. It will switch to your campus email after a while, but for now, yes, your personal emails. So continue to check those emails. Check your spam, your junk mail if you realize that you're not receiving anything from the campus, because that does happen as well. Is it possible to add a second major to my current major? Oh, you answered that? Okay. That has been answered. Can I pay my fees now, or do I have to wait for registration week? Very good question, Zachary. We do encourage students to go ahead and make their payments early so that you can, once you have, you've accepted your place and all that. Mr. Jordan, would you want to speak to this in terms of that facility to pay their fees from now? Because we do encourage it to pay their fees early.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that would prevent it, or up to a certain point?
Our local students, you can pay. There is a facility for you to pay on CHOL, but sometimes it is actually linked to the semester being open. So for our local persons, we usually encourage you to come to the cashier and make that first payment. But certainly as your account is created, so in your second semester, you would not have to come on campus, but you will be able to pay through CHOL. So I wouldn't want you to try attempting, and because it's not the semester is not necessarily open as yet, you're having challenges with trying to put through that payment. So you can feel free to come to our cashier. We're open from 9 to 3 each day, and this is prior to registration week. You can feel free to come, or you can send someone to make that payment on your behalf. But going after that, going forward, you can have access because it will be into your record. So you'll be able to go in and make those payments.
Right. And at this point, I want to stress that the university registration fees must be paid before you can register for any courses, right? Whereas any other fees that are due can be paid, during the registration week. The registration fees, that $540 per semester, plus the ID card fee of $30 must be paid before you can register for any courses. And make sure and keep your receipt, because you will need that receipt to collect your identification card. We plan to we'd make a big thing of ID cards as part of the Student Orientation Forum. When the forum is finished, you can bring your receipt and get your ID card that same day if you haven't collected it before. Maximum number of courses to be attempted per semester for top masters part-time students. Mr. Ellis?
Thanks, Ms. Arthur. This is where academic advising comes in, because then it depends on what the advisors will allow, because you don't want to overload the part-time students. So 3, sometimes as few as 2, but it would then be dependent on how far along you want to stretch that program. So normally for a 12 master's program, the credit requirement is 45 credits, give or take 45 credits. So that's 3 credits per course. That's what, 15 courses. And if you want to do them over 6 semesters, then my math is the worst ever. So 6 semesters, 15 courses, that's what, 2 to 3 per semester. So it depends on, and it's all bound up in the academic advising. This is why we stress for undergrad and postgrad, and especially for research. Academic advising at the beginning of your program is critical, so you know how your program is being laid out. Very important.
Thank you. Ms. Jordan answered put in the chat about the software engineering. Currently, that part is the funding is for the full program, both the 4 years, the 2 years here, and the 2 years in China. But you can check that link that Mrs. Jordan posted for any additional information. Since the ELPT test exemptions didn't specify passes must be within the last 5 years in order to be exempted, do I still have to do the test if I pass the BCC course over 5 years ago? Is there a time limit, Mrs. Jordan?
Now, the thing about it is that it is not stated on the website that there is, but if persons would have done the ELPT test within a 5-year period at the K-Phil campus, then they will be required to retake the test. So I would prefer if we can get, if you would hold this question, Mrs. Bell, and we can refer to this particular student, because the majority of our stuff goes within a 5-year range, but it is not on the website. That's why I was doing my, making sure. So I wouldn't want to tell you yes, and then, if we don't have it there, but it is a given. So if you can just take that person's information, Mrs. Bell, and we will reach out to LLL to ensure that it will be okay, because we don't want to say yes and then they don't do the test and have to pay then for the preliminary course.
All right, so Mrs. Jordan answered Matthew. If you are part-time, you want to switch to full-time, just complete your level 1 courses, and then you are free to register for a full-time load thereafter. Is it possible to add a second major to my current? Oh, that was answered as well. How do you set up your UWI student email? You will get information on that shortly when you get information about how to set up your account. What was the start date? What is the start date for teaching? We expect teaching to start on the 1st of September this year. When will persons who apply to postgraduate scholarships be notified of acceptance? Any word on that, Mr. Ellis?
Yes, please. We recently held our postgraduate scholarship meeting just last week, sorry. We just finalized everything on Tuesday, and therefore I expect that we should be able to advise persons who have been successful or not hopefully by next week.
Thank you, sir. Is there a payment plan for part-time students? Well, the payment plan applies whether you're full-time or part-time. But I should emphasize that the payment plan does not apply to those university registration fees that I mentioned that have to be paid before you can register for courses, right? The university registration fees cannot be included in a payment plan. It just covers the tuition fees, the economic costs, hall fees, and those kinds of fees. With regard to academic advising, okay, that was answered. When would I be able to switch from that was answered, from full-time to part-time. When will I be able to switch from full-time to part-time before I begin? If you're an undergraduate student, you just register for a part-time load. Is that so, Mrs. Jordan? Anything else you would need them to do?
We need them to let us know that they're not taking up the full-time load, because this is undergrad or post-grad, because your full-time or part-time status is tied to your billing. So we would need to make the adjustment on your account so that you can register for the amount of courses to which you want to register for. So as you can appreciate, as a full-time person, you can do full-time, you can do part-time, you can do part-time, you can do full-time, you can tweak it up as you want. So if you do let us know and you change it to part-time, and you decide then in January next year or even September next year that you want to do back part-time, full-time, you need to let us know, because when you go to register, you're not going to be allowed to register for the amount of courses that you would want to register for.
Thank you. Mrs. Bell, please take note of Charmaine as well. She would like information also on having done BCC over 5 years ago with respect to the proficiency test.
Noted.
Undergraduate part-time, are there additional fees after registering for courses? If you are being funded by the Barbados government, no. Once you've paid your university registration fees, there are no additional fees that should be generated for you after you register for courses, unless you fall into one of those categories of students who for some reason now have to, unless it is a self-funded program, or you are one of those students who fall into the category of having to pay your fees for some reason, which may include yes, that you've done a program before and you don't qualify for a second program, government sponsorship or whatever. But it doesn't matter if you are full-time or part-time. When you register, your fees will be generated if there are fees to be paid. Let's see. Shakila is asking, who would I need to reach out to? I'm not sure what that question is about, Shakila, but when in doubt, reach out to the SERU and we can point you in the right direction. seru@cavehill.uwi.edu. That's your customer service office for student affairs. So I'm not sure what your question relates to, but if you do have a question, you can send us that email and we will tell you where you need to go. I would like to know about the English test. Okay, you answered that. If you were not accepted into an alternate program, where did that question go? And told you would be considered once you finish your associate degree, how would you switch to your preferred, or if you were accepted, you were given an alternative offer, Mrs. Jordan?
So if you were given an alternative or a recommended offer in your offer letter, it would have indicated to you that if you do meet a particular criteria, it will be automated. It will be an automatic change into your program of choice. So you would have been given a letter and it would have said, I think it's at the bottom, it says, if you have completed with a GPA of 2.5 and above, then you will get such and such and such, because it did acknowledge that you applied for a particular program, but we recommended the one that you would have gotten. So for example, you may have gotten management studies double, management studies major, and let's say you applied for the accounting and finance program, you wouldn't have to do anything. Once we get that final transcript from BCC with a GPA of 2.5 and above, then we will make the change for you and send you correspondence letting you know that you are now eligible to register for the desired program.
Thank you so much. No chance that the advice about contacting the faculty office, that would be after you return. All right, is it possible? Now we're gonna have to wrap up now because we're at 6:30, which is our cutoff point for this evening. So we will just do one more question, and then any other questions that are in the chat, we will send responses to those questions via email. All right, using the registrations that you would have made for the session. Is it possible to add a second major to my current major after completing my preliminary year? I'm interested in pursuing a double major in computer science and economics.
Unfortunately, that is not a program that we offer.
Right, so the answer there, Akila, is no, you can't add that second major in economics. Only the program, the established double majors, you would see those printed on the website or in our quick reference guide that you can download, and you can see all the programs in there, but also on the website. And on the websites, you will find the handbooks for the faculties as well. As Mrs. Jordan said, you will be guided by the, which is going to be out soon, but you can use the past handbook to see a list of what majors can be combined are offered, combined. All right, so we really have run out of time. It has been a pleasure engaging with you this evening. We hope that we have been, able to answer your questions to your satisfaction, and that you found the session worthwhile. I want to thank my colleagues in Student Affairs, Mr. Owen Ellis from the Graduate Studies and Research, Mrs. Jordan from the Admissions Office, Mrs. Bell from the Student Enrollment and Retention Unit, Mr. Andre Ellis, who is online in the background doing all kinds of things. You can't see him, but he is our very valued member of the SERU team, as well, our media and tech assistant. And we want to thank him very much. He would have been the person that set up our Zoom sessions for us so we could have these sessions with you. So we want to wish you a very good evening, and to thank you very much again for having chosen the UWI at Cave Hill. Our job is to make sure that you leave thinking that you made the right decision, which we think you do. Many of us here are graduates of this campus, and probably the oldest graduate of this campus here online. But it is it was really been a pleasure engaging with you, and we look forward to meeting you, as Mrs. Bell said, in person, the SERU and the admissions in postgrad, wherever. Come and say hello. All right, we don't only want to see you if there's a challenge or you have a problem. We'd like to meet our students. So have a good evening, everyone, and those who have to travel, like I do and Mrs. Bell does, go safely.
Excuse me.
Yes, please.
I'm sorry to be rude, but
Nefertari,
I have my hand.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
You had your hand up and we were not acknowledged. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Okay, so my question is regarding getting information sent to my email. For example, the poster that was sent for this meeting was not sent to my email, but I was told by a faculty member, I think, or someone in student administration that information was being sent to me. However, I was not receiving it on my end. So what steps would I have to take to ensure that after this meeting, I receive all relevant information moving forward?
Okay, have you been checking your junk mail or spam? I think I mentioned that earlier, because we do have some persons, depending on the settings you have on your system, where a lot of the things go to spam. If you have checked that, then okay, well, I would suggest that you send us a note to SERU. That's probably the easiest way, the easiest place, email to remember at this time, SERU at Cave Hill. Give us your name, the program that you accepted for, and we can get admissions to make a check to make sure that the email address that is in there is accurate. But they will be using the email that would have been entered in your application form, I'm sure.
Yes.
So it may have been some error in entering that email.
Because I received emails prior to handing in my documents to the school.
Okay.
So after I did that, I didn't receive any other emails from administration or student affairs. But I did send in an email yesterday, so I will ensure to forward that email to the other email address you just mentioned.
Okay, thank you. But if you were receiving them up front, that suggests that your email was correct. So I don't know what might have. Maybe what we would do is to do a test, send you an email, and then see you know. So do send it to SERU, and we will work together to see what's going on there.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. And it's not rude, you know. It's good that you know, it's called advocating and agency. All right, so good evening, everyone. Bye-bye.
Good evening.
Bye-bye, everyone. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone, and see you all, grad
Stay
studies, grad
on.
students, and grad studies.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Good evening.